All right, so for what value of x is to figure the given special parallelogram? Well, for number 11, they are showing that these two angles here that are formed by the diagonal have these particular algebraic measurements. And we know that rhombuses bisect the angles that at the vertices that the diagonals are spanning between. So that means that 2x plus 39 must be equal to 6x minus 9, and we can actually write that out and start to solve it. So 2x plus 39 equals 6x minus 9. And then how do we solve it? Well, I'm going to just got all the x's on one side, and we know how to do this algebraically. 39 equals 4x minus 9. Add 9 to both sides. You get 48 equals 4x. So then when you divide that by 4, you get 12 is equal to x. And that value of x is what's going to give you equal measures for those two angles. Okay. Now, it's a rectangle. We know that since rectangles have the exact same measure for both of the diagonals, and we know that in all parallelograms the diagonals are bisected, that means that this will be equal to this, of course, just like any parallelogram, but also because the measures of the diagonals are the same, then when this one's bisected, that length is also going to be equal to the other two. So all four of those lengths running from that point of intersection in the middle, they'll all have the same length. So then we can say, all right, then we know that 8x plus 3 is equal to 4x plus 7. And we then solve it. So minus 4x. We can do better, but sorry, this pen is a little bit rough to write with for some reason. Anyway, we got 4x plus 3 equals 7, minus 3, 4x equals 4. And of course, when we do 4x divided by 4 and 4 divided by 4, we get x equals 1. So that angle, or that x value, will give us those two segments congruent to each other. And let me just draw separating lines here so we can visually helps us maybe. And then let's look at this last one. Okay, they're talking about, I'm just going to draw the lines to show which lines we're talking about. They're talking about LN and MO. And since they say that it's a rectangle, we know that the rectangle's diagonals need to be congruent. So we can then take those two measures for those segments, those diagonals, and set them equal to each other. So we can say 4x minus 7 equals 2x plus 13. And then simply solve for it. Minus 2x, and we get 2x minus 7 equals 13. Continuing to solve, we get 2x equals 20. And then dividing by 2, we get x equals 10. And if we use 10 as the value of x, we will have equal measures for those diagonals, which is what's required of a rectangle. So with all of these, you need to know that those particular things that are given to you are equal in measure. Not always the case. Sometimes you might have, let's say, two consecutive angles that would then sum to 180. So you got to really know what the rule is. Don't just always take two things that they give you and set them equal to each other, because that might not be what needs to happen. So apply the rules thoughtfully.